Well, I thought to myself, I said, Pete, you know what? You're getting ready to go practice for a Bassmaster Kayak Series event, and you got the kayak cleaned up, right? It doesn't look absolutely just atrocious. It was kind of bad, I won't lie. Like, I had that scum line going on. I don't know the last time that I actually washed my kayak, scrubbed it down. By the way, Magic Eraser is phenomenal. You don't want to press too hard because it's abrasive. But man, it'd been a long time, and she was looking a little grungy. So went ahead and got it all cleaned up. Got rid of my old, graveyard of plastic baits. I don't know if any of y'all end up with a graveyard of just like torn up, chewed up baits, or tried this color, switched to that color, whatever the case. Anywho, if you've never taken a up close and personal look at an Autopilot 120 from Oldtown, I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now, because I want a new kayak just for the sake of trying new stuff, but I feel like if I switch to anything other than an AP, I'm going to be slightly disappointed, just because I've gotten so comfortable with just the way everything is. I mean, even when I go fish on the boat, I kind of lost because, I've got all my little tackle things here. I apologize. I'm recording this on my phone, camera's over there, and I want to look at the screen, so it looks kind of weird. But like I said, I felt compelled to kind of share this with you. So if you're a kayak person and you're interested in an AP 120, from Oldtown, or you're just kind of curious as to some of the little things that I've done, as far as a living situation. I call it a living situation because oftentimes I'm on the water from before the sun comes up to when the sun is going down. That equates to 12 to 14 hours a day. And I mean, you got to kind of have things situated. You got to have stuff in such a way that you're comfortable spending a time, that amount of time on a little plastic boat for 12 to 14 hours. So we'll take a look at this. Again, my name is Peter. This is My Chaotic Fishing. If you're into this sort of stuff, hit the subscribe button. As always, if I post something in the future you don't like it, just hit unsubscribe. I'm good with that. I don't want you here if you don't want to be here. I like to make things that genuinely interest people, maybe educate, maybe inspire. I make a shite ton of mistakes, so maybe you can avoid some of that too. But here we go. She's currently finishing charging batteries. I'm going to leave tonight. I've got stuff kind of just thrown over to the side there, right? Gives a little bit of room. One of the first things you'll notice with the AP 120, you do have a 45-pound thrust Minn Kota power drive setup. It has its benefits. It also has its shortfalls. The propeller that comes, or the prop, however you want to say that comes on it, is they call it a weedless wedge 2, whatever the case, right? This butts right up against the can there, and it prevents vegetation from getting wrapped around the shaft itself. And you can see that during times of the year where I spend a lot of time up shallow and in vegetation, you see that rust right there. What that is from a box blade, right? I break a box blade in half. I put half on this side with just the tip pointing out, and basically what happens is you get this little edge. And I'll be honest, I've been with other people who have trolling motors that mount up on the bow and other Oldtown, and they end up having to paddling a long time before I do. So whether it's on a boat or a kayak, you just take one of those metal tie wraps, whatever the case, and cinch it down, and just put the point up so that it sits right there at the edge of your trolling motor prop, and I promise you, I guarantee it makes a huge difference. However, back to the matter at hand here, obviously this is not the stock propeller, and it is from a company called APC, long time known for making airplane props. I've got this one trimmed down to where I feel comfortable, right, with that little gap there. You don't got to do much, but it's a 10 by 5 or 10 by 8, I forget. Generally, with my kayak loaded down, how I fish it, it's good for about 3 miles an hour with this prop, with the stock prop. With this guy, man, I'll hit 4 to 4.5 miles an hour, and my plugs aren't getting hot. I don't know the exact difference in amp draw between this and that. Like I said, I do know that one goes faster, and I apologize for the train behind me. I have a charger that actually shows me specifically like the milliamp hour. See, that's 2.3 amp hour that you're looking at right there, right? 2,370 some odd milliamp hour. When I get off the water, I can see what goes back into the trolling motor battery, which is located right under the seat there. Get my finger out of the shot. So that's kind of how I know that, you know, on an average day where I'm doing 10 to 15 miles, it seems like I put approximately the same amount back into that battery, right? It shows me on my charger with that prop or this one. So I choose that one as often as I can. I do bring spares. I've got a couple different ones there. I do balance them out. I do use I keep a sanding block in my little kind of shit box of things here. I do have another one of the APC props on the Autopilot. I don't have to do anything. That little section right there goes right on the drive pin and I'm good to go. This is the 10x8, so that other one looks like a 10x5. I've got some random stuff in here, some fishing lines, you know, old lures. I keep a little hammer and a screwdriver because you never know. Got my lure knocker in there. Yeah, I mean, that ends up kind of a collection box, but I put some baits in there. You'll see in the back here, typically, that's where my backpack goes. My backpack is all my tackle minus my soft stuff, and so it doesn't matter if I'm out fishing from the boat, the kayak, or if I'm going for a bank baiting session and I want that much tackle, I can put it all back there, and then I put a couple bags of soft plastics in there, good to go. As you can see, I can carry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rods. Typically, I will carry that many rods. I don't like retying. I like having all the different stuff for different situations. Carry 3 spinning rods, 8 casting rods. You know, I like to throw swim baits. You can't throw a lot of other stuff on a proper swim bait rod. And you know, I've got stuff that I prefer for jerk bait, and I got stuff that I prefer for pinging a minnow, and I got stuff that I prefer for topwater and frogging, and you know, all the different stuff. So that's why I like being able to have that. Should have bought a boat, right? Yeah, you know what? Everybody I know that has a bass boat carries about 20 to 30 rods with them. That's not 20 to 30 rods. So on the back of the seat here, which I've got cinched down for travel, but you know, obviously this flips up. This is a More Explorer cooler bag. It does have rod tubes. I use them exclusively for like when I land a fish, I can throw them back here real quick. Generally, I don't use those side ones just because they're kind of, for me, they're in an awkward position. They're fine for storage, but they're kind of in an awkward position to very quickly in and out. And I also have my measuring board that sits right there on that T-track. As you can see, got the 360 light. Under here, what do we got going on? I apologize for the lighting, but basically I've got a 65 amp hour lithium inside of here. And if you've got an AP and you're wondering how to do that, I did remove it from the case, right? Lithium cells are waterproof. I'm not gonna go into the details. And all I had to do to get that inside of that opening is actually, you can see how it normally has a lot of excess plastic there. And I just shaved that off. And on a hot summer day, it slips right in there. Over on the other side, you can see the plug for the trolling motor battery. And basically what I've done as far as the charging setup is I've got all the SAE plugs into the battery, and then over on the other side you can kind of see the Yak Power switch that I've got mounted flush there right behind the little storage box. And then for the trolling motor, I just soldered up my own plug set for that. So this is the same receptacle that is on the kayak itself. I've been running those stock plugs for 2 years, and I do have an upgrade set up for that. I just haven't done it yet. Now this kayak, well, it is powered with a trolling motor. Excuse me, it doesn't have a foot control. It does use a wireless remote. I don't like that big remote hanging around my neck. I do have, albeit a small desire, that's why I haven't done it yet, but they do make a smaller little remote that's, you know, about that big to hang around your neck. Probably that would be awesome. I just haven't jumped into it. You can see both of the Railblaza hex mounts, one located there for my live. That's an OVS 34. Whenever I travel, I do run those Net Buddy little covers. There you go. Yeah, it's expensive stuff, so that just adds a little bit of cushion for the ride. Got that big Cast King net there. I know it's big. It's like a freaking walleye net or something. But Drew Gregory was so kind enough to give that to me, and I will tell you, I use it sometimes. I don't always use it, but I sometimes use it. Basically, when it's open, I just hang it over the nose and then run the rest of the handle back there. So up front, as far as looking down, like I said, we got one Hex Live set up there for the LVS 34, running a 7-inch GPS map right there. Didn't want a big one, sorry, hand and focus and all that different stuff. Not a professional videographer. I didn't want one of the bigger screens just because, man, you start to kind of crowd up. I mean, that's a 9-inch Humminbird Helix, and so that does my down scan, side scan, Mega 360, my mapping. By the way, mapping of the Lake Master VX setup is absolutely awesome. You can check that out. I do have one of the Minn Kota GPS pucks on there. What that allows me to do is when I'm spot locked here, I can press left or right and you know, forward and backward. And basically it'll move me, it'll step me, if you will, you know, 5 feet forward, 5 feet forward, 5 feet to the right, to the left, whatever the case. That function isn't available if you don't have one of those pucks. I will say that there's a lot of stuff that Humminbird and Minn Kota, they do some weird things that, you know, you have to have a different peripheral device to use all the features and all that different stuff. One of the things I forgot to do before I headed out for practice was re-silicone that little interior light. I've got them all around, although that's the only one you can see. The other ones are all mounted. You can kind of see a strip that I've got tucked under there. And inside of here, these are all red lights. In the back here, I've got white lights that light up this tank well. The red one's up here because at night, if you use any other color, right, blue, green, white, whatever, all the other cool stuff, it messes with the way that your eyes pick up light, and it will diminish your ability to see at, you know, at night when it's dark temporarily, or before sunrise. The pre-dawn hours is when I, you know, mostly use those outside of summertime. During summertime, man, I fish at night a lot, and those red lights are the deal. You can go back through my Instagram and see I post plenty of night shots. As far as kind of what I run on the side, I've got one of those Yak Gadget cup holders. It looks like it's finally broken there on the side, but you know, holds my scissors, holds my pliers, holds my nippers. If you don't want to lose something while you're on the water on a kayak, and connect everything. You can see right there, I've got the phone tether. I'm just using a RAM mounts setup for the phone. There's Quad Lock makes a really nice one that charges and does all that stuff at the same time. I would really like to set that on here. But I think with my platform, right, I've contacted them and said, hey, I believe I've got a setup that, you know, really shows off a bunch of different stuff. Everything on here is functional. I use it, I like it, I love it, and hopefully at some point in time Quad Lock will decide that y'all as a community are valuable enough to them to send me that setup. Otherwise, I'm gonna go with the basic freaking RAM mount. It's just mounted there, as you can see, onto the little handrail. They've got them on both sides. They are pretty solid. We've carried this kayak loaded down up a hill from those handrails and the one right in front, and they're solid. We got foot control steering for the rudder, and I will say this is a massive rudder on this AP 120. I don't know, or I haven't seen another kayak that has such a big rudder, and so I love that. It's badass, and it's foot controlled. Those can adjust forward and backward depending on your height. Again, apologize for my neighbor's dogs and train and all that stuff, but this is the time that I have to show you this stuff. Like I said, it's clean right now, so that's why I'm showing it to you. Another little thing that I like to do, I don't like externally mounted wires, right? So I do run everything internally, and I use Oldtown makes a nice through hole system that is pretty waterproof. Not completely, you know, I do get in some rough stuff and end up getting a little bit of water inside the hole. Had that drying out. I don't even think. Yeah, I mean, these are like slightly moist. They're not. They're closer to dry than they are wet. You can see it's not puddling up or anything like that in there. It is completely dry. But I do that because I like to carry extra rags, and it soaks up anything that might go in there. This cap is, I wouldn't quite say waterproof. There's a little foam deal right there. It's, again, if you're in some really rough stuff, first off, I hope that you know what you're doing and you're not exceeding the ability of yourself or the kayak, right? Safety first, but you will end up getting a little bit of water in there. As far as what you see going on there, so I don't like shit dangling up there, all up in my grill and right up by my feet and all that different stuff. So it's pretty simple. I get a foam strip and I glue it. You can see an old one that I peeled off. It either I used it and it got too tore up, or it dried up from the sun, because you know these used to be black, but I'm out so much that they do sun fade. I mean, even, you know, from water and all that different stuff, like yeah, the sun does a number on you. So they're just some little foam pads, and I have the same setup on my boat, man. I just put a little foam pad there, and you can just stick a bunch of lures that you're going through. I got some various top water, some various cranks, you know, some smaller swim baits, stuff like that, just stuff that I want to have on hand. Don't really necessarily have a great storage solution for it. And then same thing over here, you know, maybe I want to try the shad color, maybe I want to try a little swim gill, maybe I want to try the red, or, you know, I don't know what those are. Okay, those they look like Ned rigs, but they're not, so don't worry about it. A couple minnow pinion jigs set up there, but that's kind of a quick rundown. You know, we got a pill bottle there, and you might be wondering, what is that for? Well, I'll show you, hang tight. So this is just a great way to be able to carry baits that, like this is a Z-Man graph shad, and that plastic, if it comes in contact with it, like, you can't keep it with other plastics, it'll melt. Matter of fact, I've got some that mixed with some mooch minnows at the bottom of my kayak over here, and you can see they get gooey and they melt, they do weird stuff, and obviously that's not going to be the deal. That's not going to be the new pinion minnow of 2026, I assure you. But so I generally try to keep them separate. Got a couple different heads in there because they got different weights. It's a line through minnow for live scope. That's what that's for. So I just kind of kick that over there on the side. You can see I've got a couple of them right there. Hey, look, I did a quick scrub down, but see, they don't react with each other. It's just other plastics. So anywho, if this was of any value to you, you can see on the side there, spike it, what I got on the other side here. There we go. We got some Bass Dynasty, some stuff I can't get anymore. I love throwing swim baits, so I've literally got a cup full of them there, different colors, weights, sizes, some with an underspin, some not, right? Just a regular thing. You can see all those mosquitoes flying around. These are mosquitoes. I live on a lake, and they are freaking terrible right now. I'm getting eaten up. But if you're still sticking around, I'd like to thank you very much. That was my Oldtown Sportsman Autopilot AP120. Kind of a full rundown. If you got some questions about how I rigged it, any of the setup, any of the things that you saw on the video, understand that I don't have any, you know, on paper black and white relationships with any of these companies. So please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll do my best to let you know. Again, my name is Peter. This is my Kayak Fishing. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying rad. Things almost charged. I'm gonna shower up. I got the truck already loaded up. We're gonna head out to no reception for the next 3 days. Get some practice for an upcoming event, and it should be good. That's all I got. Appreciate y'all. Be good. Peace.